even though it's been 30 years. And people still have drilled into them that there are security classifications and you still have to respect them. I got a phone call. He says, John? He said, yes. He says, you got to go fly. George is dead. He said, did he get shot down? No, he was doing some practicing, doing touch-and-go landings. Somewhere in there, he made a mistake and crashed. But he just died. It was just a straight accident.
30 years after her brother volunteered to risk his life in a secret CIA program, it's hard to hear that his death was simply an accident. It's hard to know what to believe.
But why do you think that there's no answers?
Well, that is the answer, you see.
You say that's the answer?
Mm-hmm.
Just a year after George Towsley died, the war was over. The U.S. signed a peace agreement with North Vietnam in 1973, and the Ravens mission was officially terminated.
We didn't win the war in Laos, or Vietnam, or Cambodia. We didn't even tie. The American public was tired of Vietnam. They were tired of sending kids off and having them come home in body bags. America wouldn't put up with it anymore, and so we went home.
The Vietnam War had become a military and political quagmire for the U.S., with no good end in sight except to pull out. By 1975, the last U.S. personnel were out of Southeast Asia. Pathet Lao and North Vietnamese forces took control. The Hmong soldiers who had sided with the Americans were punished, along with their families, sometimes brutally.
We just packed our bags and left. And to me, that was nothing short of being a traitor.
That was one of the more difficult things emotionally, having to stand down and leave these people who were extended family at that point.
And the Pathet Lao and the communists came over there, wiped them out, and that's what we were there to save them. And we didn't really save them. All we did is cause them many years of misery and inconvenience, or whatever you want to call it. And then most of them got wiped out. That's my regret. My regret is we didn't do our job.
About 250,000 Hmong are said to be living in Laos today. The Ravens are eager to meet with them. Susoth has finally arranged to grant the Ravens' request. The communist minders selected this village for the reunion. A face-to-face meeting between Ravens and Hmong has not happened inside Laos since the war.
Okay. Would you tell him how very pleased we are to be sitting with him tonight?
Where were they during the war?
We have to move on the time, Our people have been losing during the war about 50. Mostly bombing and also step on the landmine.
You might tell him we're sorry for his losses.
We come in peace now, and we have many Hmong friends in the United States, and we've kept in contact with ever since we left Laos. We've kept in contact with Hmong people all over the United States.
Have we interrupted the entire village?
All you need to do is look. I'm all aglow, and you can see it, I think, and I feel it all over my body, and it's so neat to be with them again. It's very, very meaningful. They don't want to talk about the war. They've forgotten about the war, and they just want to go on with their life and to be happy and to have a prosperous village.
But everything is not as it seems. Back in the United States, Laotian translators reviewing the footage told the producers that these villagers are not actually Hmong at all. They belong to a tribe called Khmu, most of whom sided with the communists. But why the deception? The Laotian government has been very reluctant to allow any outsiders to meet with the Hmong. because as many as 10,000 of the Ravens' former allies and their descendants are still fighting, still launching guerrilla attacks.
Says he's running low on ammunition.
This rare video has never been shown on U.S. television. It was shot by Hmong guerrillas in 2002. They show themselves returning from battle against Laotian government troops. These guerrillas live in the jungle with their families, with no medical supplies, very little food, always on the run. The Laotian army is trying to end the insurrection. The guerrillas say they are being persecuted.
He'd like to address President Bush. He'd like to address President Nixon as well. He says that he's one of the soldiers that were left behind. He says it's because of his work for the CIA that he's being persecuted. He says that if he doesn't receive any help, he's not going to make it for too long.
In the 1970s, the American people wanted the wars in Southeast Asia to end. But how it all ended is still hard for the Ravens to accept.
You volunteer to go over there knowing you're doing the right thing, knowing you're going to win this war because America wins all its wars. And at the end, they pull the plug and send you home. And I'll tell you, that messes with your mind big time, you know. And it took me years and years to get past that, for the most part. And I haven't totally gotten over it because I think it's a dark and shameful chapter of our history, you know, and I carry that with me all the time.
Some say, however, that the U.S. achieved important strategic goals in Laos, slowing the advance of communism and saving American lives.
What would have happened if we hadn't gone into Laos strike-wise? There would probably been more than 10,000 more Americans killed in South Vietnam because we tied up 10 divisions of first-line North Vietnamese soldiers and put them against a bunch of Hmong. Easier to lose your Hmong people than to lose Americans. Doesn't make as bad publicity back home.
All wars leave survivors bearing physical and psychological scars. But the Ravens, told to fight in secret, then told to quit a cause they believed in, they carry their own unique burden. The surviving Ravens gather every year for what they like to call group therapy.
In my memory, I carry the twinkle of your eye, the delight of your laugh, and the courage that was life as we expected every day to die.
John Leonard Carroll. Joseph L. Chestnut.
For the Ravens, the only people who really understand are other Ravens.
Donald Craig Morrison. George Henry Tousley.
Together they can come to grips with what they did and grieve for friends who died while fighting one of America's forgotten secret wars.
Until I'm with you again.